Happy Friday. Welcome to the Scoop World Order. It's great to see you guys this evening. I hope that you guys head out to your high school football games. All your teams win. Big week tomorrow because there's no Buckeye football, so there's no pressure for us to win. So guys had a good bye week. We're going to get into that. There's a huge UFC card tomorrow night. If you guys want to do something great, go check it out at Buffalo Wild Wings or Twin Peaks, our two proud flagship sponsors for this program. Two great venues to watch the fights at. Again, they're both outstanding partners, so thank you to both of them. I had a great day today at Twin Peaks and met a few members of the Buckeye Scoop family, so it was really cool to see some of you guys. So I appreciate you guys always stopping by and saying hello. Make sure you guys do that if you guys see me. But again, I just appreciate all that you guys do. It's going to be a big show. We're going to break down some defensive plays tonight and take you guys off into the night. With that being said, as always, we appreciate you guys following the show. Our growth has been out of this world, and it's all thanks to you guys. So, again, thank you for all that you do to spread the good word of Buckeye Scoop. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also, click that little alert bell. If you want to do something amazing, spectacular, and magnificent, all combined in a blender to make a really cool smoothie, then follow us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You can follow on both for completely free. Really helps us out. Again, we're trying to grow all of our formats, and frankly, the video was way ahead of the audio, so we're trying to get the audio a little bit more caught up. So even if you like the video format, the audio one is a great one to follow to help us out completely for free. So I got to get right to everyone's favorite South Alabama Jackrabbit, our boy Nevadabuck. Nevadabuck had a magnificent bet last night that was like, it ended up being like 87-10 or whatever it was, and told me the interesting story about how the game that he won the bet was waived because the game was shortened because it was such a blowout. So how are you doing other than that today, Nevada?
Yeah, no, I'm doing good. Doing good. I mean, that was the second time that I had a bet canceled due to shortening, which is, I guess, a new thing. And I'm telling you, I've been betting since I was legal age of 21, so it's 4 decades now. I've never had that happen before, and I've had it happen twice in 3 weeks this year, where coaches got together at halftime and decided the game was so lopsided that they shaved off 5 minutes off the third quarter. Like, so they play, instead of 15-minute third quarter and fourth quarter, they play 10 minutes, and the game still ended up 87-10, and my 49-point spread got voided because they didn't play a sufficient number to know. So, yeah, the weekend has started off to an auspicious beginning here on one that I thought I had won and got canceled due to shortening. But great weekend. Even though we're on a bye, I'm telling you, stuff's happening. The Michigan. I want to throw this little thing out on Michigan because I got it from a great Michigan source who sent me a note, was talking to me about what's going on from the inside. And he was pointing out to me, he's like, look, don't think all of us Michigan fans are crazies, because we're not. There's a really, strong contingent of people from the Michigan Law School and from Michigan School of Medicine that want all this stuff wrapped up. And those are kind of the power brokers, because Michigan School of Medicine is making big moves in the state of Michigan with the hospital system, and this scandal is really having an overhanging effect on them. And so, I thought it was interesting. There's pressure. There's clearly pressure from men on this stuff. We don't see it because we think that just everybody in Michigan has completely lost their mind and completely is off the reservation. But apparently, there are some sane people. There are some people in positions of authority. There are people that still care about the Block M brand, or whatever that thing's called. But I thought that was really interesting, really insights, and I wanted to share that.
Yeah, I mean, I think something that people don't realize sometimes is that there's a large segment of people that work at Ohio State or at Michigan or these huge universities that hate football, and they detest football. They hold their nose at football, even though football is it is the brand of Ohio State. Everyone, because it's the most identifiable part of the entire school. Like, if the football team wins the national championship, hooray! Look at you can wear your stuff everywhere. If they stink, it's also the national point at them. When you're a Florida Gator right now and their football team's terrible, or the Florida State, that's kind of what represents the university. I mean, you could almost cure cancer at a university, and they're still going to recognize if the football team's good or not as their kind of the primary target. So this Michigan thing, and that's what I've been banging the drum about with the board of trustees and some of the adults is like, how on earth are they going to let this scandal come out and this stupidity? And I just think that there's some people that just don't understand what it is, how bad it is, but there's absolutely people that I'm sure are saying and are like, guys, this is so stupid. And plus, it's not just that it's stupid, but it's the way they've acted ever since it was discovered and uncovered, and the bet and the Jim Harbaugh thumbing his nose and Connor Stallion saying, "Oh, I'd do it again." Because that's the thing that's hilarious to me is I'm like, they just don't seem to understand like the severity of it, and I'm like, guys, like you can't say you're going to do that again. You can't say the NCAA is toothless and oh well they stole money from student athletes. I mean, that's a great one to throw out there as well. They got sued for taking money from athletes for all those years. Like that has nothing to do with anything. That doesn't mean you can steal. Like if I go to like the Cosmopolitan in Las Vegas, I'm not allowed to like count cards or cheat at the poker machines and say, well, they had some misdoings with their last transaction with MGM Grand or something like that. They're self or they're mutually exclusive. So I always think that that's kind of funny when they try to point it the other way, like do the 3-card money game. But yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with Michigan because they're going to get a win tomorrow. They're going to play Arkansas. If they don't get a win tomorrow, then it's over. But I mean, they're playing Arkansas State, who stinks. They're 22-point favorites, or whatever. And when they were good, they'd probably be 49-point favorites because it's that kind of a team. But they've just been so bad on offense. And again, their quarterback went from a first rounder to maybe the worst quarterback in the Big Ten. So it's going to be really auspicious up there. Nevada practices wrapped. These kids get to go home for a pretty short time. They all tried to get out of here, late Thursday, get out of here today. Got to come back tomorrow, though. I mean, it's tough. These guys, they all want to go home, but man, it's hard. And it's funny because there's actually a big rap concert at Nationwide tomorrow. So I was like, I wonder if that'll keep some of these guys here because Boss Man D-Lo's in the building. That's like, he's like the king of South Florida right now when it comes to rap. So I was like, I wonder if the kids would come back for that. But I'm sure a lot of these kids are just homesick. And even if they could just go home and sleep in their bed for one night, they'd want to do it. But what are your thoughts on the bye week? Again, good, sharp practices. Again, I said Ryan's going to put the screws to these guys because he's going to make it like it basically what it was described to me as today when I was, getting some stuff and trying to get some info on how everything went. It was training camp 2.0. And when you say training camp 2.0, that means like they're going to, they're going to bust you down. I mean, they're going to break you off, and practice is not going to be easy. It's not going to be fun. It's going to be really physical. I mean, because basically you judge how hard practice is when you're a football player by how much do you do good on good. If you do a bunch of scout team work, that's a breeze. That's a cakewalk practice. If you do a lot of good on good, where it's like, when you're me, if I do that, I had to go good on good. That means I get to go see Vern Golson and Cam Hayward, 2 first-round picks at defensive end, as opposed to scout team where it's like a lot more chill, a lot easier, whatever. But there was a lot of good on good. And again, I think that Ryan, he's got to kind of beat the beast down. Like that's kind of like going to be the hard part about going forward as they march into Oregon is he has to beat these kids down from a mental standpoint, because everywhere they go, they're going to say, oh God, it's going to be you guys in Georgia. Just, check all the boxes to make the playoffs. And you're going to see the Georgia Bulldogs, the last game of the year. And it's going to be, you guys are winning the national championship, because that's where the mentality is now. Because we look good. I don't think Georgia looks great. Oregon has looked terrible. And Texas looks really good. So, I mean, those are like kind of the final 3-ish that have separated. But what are your thoughts through the bye week?
Well, I think it brings to mind something that I actually want to ask you about, because you've experienced this as a player, as a coach. So maybe your insight on this is certainly better than mine. But, I try to remind people all the time that this isn't Madden. So it's not just because we have the best players or the best team and we add up to a 97 or whatever it is, doesn't mean you win the game. And, you've seen it throughout history where, undermanned teams or, teams that were clearly not as good as the opponent, came wherever and won games. I just wanted to ask you, like with this Ohio State team, when we talk about battling complacency and battling, all the accolades that they're getting, Did you when you had that happen to you, where I don't know if you were part of big upsets, but you were certainly part of some games that maybe were closer. Did you know that was going to happen before you went out there, or did it just kind of just happen, or were there warning lights flashing, or how does what's the kind of the genesis of an upset or of a poor performance or something like that, and how do you battle that?
Well, I think that there's some that I think are easier to see. I'll be real. I did not see the Florida game coming. Like when we got ran through. Now again, you can't predict. Like it's kind of like in gambling. You can't predict that the best player you can't lay your bet down and then the best player on the team breaks his leg on the first play of the game, which is literally when Ted broke his leg. Man, I was like, this is not good. So I couldn't predict that and our crappy performance and the rest of that game. Illinois, I didn't feel great. Coming down the stretch, like we were doing okay, but like that Illinois game that I lost at home in 07, I didn't like a lot of the thoughts. I had one of my starting teammates ask me if they should book airfare. Literally asked if his parents should book airfare for New Orleans now because it's cheaper. And this is before we got to play Illinois. And again, Illinois was like that was the best Illinois team of the last since probably 2001 when they won the Big Ten, because they had real dudes. They had Mendenhall, they had Vontae Davis, and Vontae Davis was a first round pick. Mendenhall was a first round pick. So it isn't like granddad's Illinois that would go out there like the 05 Illinois team that would beat like 56-10. Like this, it wasn't the same guy because Zook had it cooking by 07. He was he's a monster recruiter. And I thought he was a decent coach because again, like Illinois is not an easy job, but I didn't like the. Well, maybe we should go buy tickets for my mom and dad. Like I was, because I like snapped. And then, after we lost that game, I was just like, mother effer. I'm like, I can't believe that like I didn't get like snap harder on that because I was just like, you guys are really worried about saving $200 on airfare, when we haven't even won the thing. And like that's because that's kind of where the minds go. Because again, I've been these kids. I've been Jack Story. I've been the captain of the team. The guy that everyone looks at, because when you're the captain, you're the one they look at. It's like you got to go stand up in front of them, and it's like sometimes you got to say stuff that people don't want to hear, and you might hurt some feelings. And like I said, I've never in my entire life cared about being liked. All I care about is being excellent. That's it. That's why I always said I'd rather be an All-American, a first-team All-American, than a captain, because an All-American means you're good. A captain means that you're popular. Now I was both, and I'm just telling you, like I'd rather be good. And so the thing is like you can kind of feel it, and it's never been worse than now because of the access people have to these kids. They all have Twitter accounts. They all have Instagram. They all love the adulation, the likes, the comments, whatever. So it's like drinking cyanide for these kids because, again, we're going to run through the schedule, and it's really going to get bad after Oregon because we're going to smash Oregon. We're going to go out there. The coronation will be in full swing. I don't think we're going to be any lower than second. I don't know if I don't think we can get to first because I think whoever wins between Georgia in Texas in the middle of October is going to be the number one seed, in my opinion. Now, again, they could trip up at some point, but I think we get through Oregon. I think we run the table, provided we stay healthy. Obviously sometimes it's a little hard, then you can take that bet off the table. But I think sometimes you can feel it, but sometimes you can't. Like I didn't see the Florida thing coming because I thought we prepped good. I mean, I felt like we were more locked in for the Florida game than we were for the Notre Dame game. And the Notre Dame game, we smashed Notre Dame, and we scored all those points, and everybody loved that game because we beat Brady Quinn and AJ Hawk and blah 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 whatever. But but obviously that wasn't the case. It didn't end up that way. So I don't know, but it's something that like it's probably the most important thing Ryan Day can do for the rest of this year is beat the beast down, because the beast is the media, the hype, the fan base, the parents, the girlfriends, because all they're going to do is just pour all this toxic, love into these kids and say, oh, we should just book Atlanta now. Let's book it now and get the rooms reserved and everything. And then you can take your eye off the prize. Because I never, and I've always been like this, I always look at today. I don't care about tomorrow. And that's how I was when I played. That's how I am now. Like, I'm not like looking for 10 years down the line, 2 weeks down the line. Like, I'm worried about winning today because that's the only thing I can control. I can't control what I'm going to do in 6 weeks or whatever. But, and again, I think that this team is aided by exceptional leadership, including from Will Howard, who's the leader of the offense. He's kind of a pseudo captain. I know that it was kind of wonky because he came in as a transfer, but I mean, he's the true leader of the offense right now. And I think that his experience and him winning a Big 12 championship is enormous. And I think our defense, again, these kids, it's a little easier to temper these kids because they've literally never won anything ever in their entire careers. And they've been around Ohio State for a long time. And you haven't been able to say that about an Ohio State team for a long time. So they have no rings, they have no gold pants, they have nothing. They won a Rose Bowl, great. No one cares. So I think that's a different type of feel for these kids because it's not like they've been down the path. Maybe you could say like in 05 when we got good and then we beat Notre Dame and kind of hit that springboard into 06 and ran the table. And then we get to the Florida game and, I think we did fall into a little bit of the, oh, well, we're out here in Arizona and we're the number one seed. But we're the number one seed where we should be wearing our red jerseys, but we better wear the white ones because we wore the white ones versus Miami and we wore the white ones versus Kansas State. We wore the white ones versus Notre Dame. So heaven forbid we wear the home jerseys because, if we would have lost then it would have been, oh, how could you wear the scarlet jerseys when you're undefeated wearing the white ones at the Fiesta Bowl? Again, I think we fell into a little too much stupidity that way. But again, when Ted Ginn breaks his leg on the first play, then you can only do so much. Like I always tell people, like, look, take the best player off every team that's won the national championship. Like go break Tim Tebow's leg on the first play of the 2008 game when they played Oklahoma, and then put John Brantley in there, and they'd lose 49-10. So again, like I can't help that our best player broke his leg. And again, was Florida great? Sure. Was our best player out of the game? Yes. So whatever. Does that satisfy that at all?
Yeah, no, I just kind of wonder because I look at this year and you look at the schedule and we kind of know where the target games are, we know where the problems are, but when I hear so much adulation for the team, it's kind of like a common. There's like two different forces kind of going on right now. You've got on one hand, you've got this overwhelming excitement about the team and talking about the perfection and how well they're playing and how they're doing it. And then you've got a segment of the fan base that's like nitpicking anything Will Howard does. Like if Will Howard misses a throw, there are people that are absolutely losing their mind that Will Howard will like miss a throw in it. And so I wonder what's going to happen, if when we struggle, because inevitably throughout a season, the one thing I've learned from college football is no team goes through and plays 12 perfect games, 14 perfect games, 16 perfect games. It's never happened, I believe, in the history of college football. Certainly never in the history of Ohio State football. You always lay something, not just one stinker. You probably roll multiple stinkers in there through the season because it's impossible to play at such a high level, week in and week out and doing it. So I wonder how people are going to react when we have a game where we have a hiccup or we play a team that's not as good as us and don't play as well and don't score 58 points or don't shut them out or whatever it's going to be. I really wonder how that's going to be. And I hope it doesn't happen. I hope this is the team that beats the odds and plays perfect every week. But man, I've just been here too many times. I've seen this. I've seen perfect. I thought 1998 was about as close to a perfect Ohio State team as I'd ever see. And they lost to Michigan State, and that loss still haunts me to this day. And I still don't understand how it happened. And I replay every play in my mind. I can still remember, the punt hitting. I think it was. Was it Winfield? Whoever it was hit a punt, hit somebody in the back, and I mean it was just terrible. But yeah, upsets always fascinating. The whole thing of an upset has always kind of fascinated me. When you see the United States beating Russia in hockey or Appalachian State beating Michigan or whatever it is, and you don't want to be on the wrong side of that. You don't want to be part of history and be one of those great teams that gets beat by nobody. But that is Ryan Day's biggest thing because this team's so talented, the expectations are so high. You just wonder how you can keep these kids straight, especially when you throw on top of that NIL. So kids are getting $100,000 checks every month in their bank account. How do you keep these kids on the straight and narrow? I think it's a huge challenge.
Well, and I think that the NIL thing also opens up the Pandora's box of the fan base because they're not going to be as they're just kids anymore. oh, they're just kids, leave them alone. Oh, they're just kids, don't be so hard on them, because that's gone now. I mean, I'm sorry, when you're making, $1 million to play college football, like there's going to be a section of the fan base that's going to going to be open season. But no, I think that you make a good point. Like, I think like Ryan's going to throw it. And again, like, it's funny when people like want to destroy Will Howard about missing. He missed the throw to Jelani, he missed the throw to JJ. But like, obviously, the people that are complaining have never watched NFL football before, like ever. Because I watched Anthony Richardson, first round pick, Deshaun Watson, Joe Burrow stinking it up. I mean, I can't believe like how bad some of these quarterbacks were week one. And no, that's not. And go look up what those guys are making every year. So it's like the quarterbacks miss throws. It's not like they're not all robotic and perfect, and they're not all like how Quinn was versus Michigan, where he was just spinning it. But I mean Nevada, come on. I was texting you during Sunday, and I was like, did you see like our boy Richardson from the Colts like just throw ephus balls, and I just no touch, no accuracy, but he hit some big shots. I mean, because that Pierce guy went up and got like 250-yard catches. But like that's what kills me is like, go watch Deshaun Watson and Joe Burrow throw on a Sunday, because they weren't exactly like on fire by any stretch of the imagination. Now, again, at the top of the food chain, when you're talking Mahomes and Dak and CJ Stroud, yeah, those guys are great. But there's a lot of quarterbacks that they throw it, about the same level as Will Howard. I mean, Will Howard would start. Some of these guys that are losing their starters, like, I mean, I watched the guy come in from Miami last night, and he was atrocious. And I think they take Will Howard today to be in that, especially with the way that their offensive line is getting torched by the Bills last night. Like, to have a guy like Will Howard who can, like, kind of maybe have a shot to get out of there, it changes a lot of things. What are your thoughts on that? Because, again, I think Will Howard's mobility is going to save us versus, some team when it's close, when it's, when things aren't going the right way, when we're not getting the calls from the officials, whatever. Like, the thing that can kind of erase a lot of that is Will's legs, and we haven't really seen those yet. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, just watch Will Levis literally throw the game away to Chicago with that, whatever that was. I'm not even sure what I would call that, but yeah, I'm more convinced than ever that Will Howard can be, a starting quarterback in the NFL. And again, that may put me in the minority. I know that may be crazy on the crazy train or whatever it is, but he reminds me so much of Josh Allen. It really is. It's uncanny how much he reminds you of Josh Allen. And the same types of issues, same types of upside, same types of mannerisms and everything else like that. Not saying he's going to be as good as Will Allen, but boy, I mean, quarterback play in the NFL ranges from really, really good to just absolutely putrid, and Will Howard is certainly better than that. So yeah, no, I love what he brings to our game, and you're right, we haven't unleashed the legs, and man, the legs are the great equalizer. The legs, running the football, breaking content. People have to remember, if you're blocking with five guys and they're rushing four, there's a lane to run. There's a lane to run every single time. And so now you've got to have a linebacker. You better have a spy, or you better have somebody that's good enough to pick up Will Howard. And Will Howard is sneaky fast, and he's big and strong, and he can shuck you, and he can throw you aside, and he can rumble for some yards. So no, I'm super excited about seeing when the games get tight, and when they get to playoff time, when they get the Big Ten championship game, when they get to the Michigan game, and they need those games, and they unleash the full offense. Will Howard's legs are going to be a big part of it, and so same with Devin Brown. Devin Brown can run the ball. Julian's saying, I not as big, not as sturdy as those other guys, but we can. All of our guys can move with it, and that's a big additional arrow to have in the quiver.
And it's funny because I talked to Zach Smith a lot, and we always kind of compare notes when we watch the film and stuff. And it's funny because we were talking about McCord, and obviously we're not huge fans of Colin McCord, but Zach said, he's like, dude, like, guys can get better. So it's not like once Kyle McCord is better than he was last year. I still wouldn't take him over Will Howard, but Will Howard is also better than he was last year because he's been coached really hard by Ryan Day and Chip Kelly. And I think he's a better fit for our offense. And to win a championship, I'd take Will Howard. Because again, I think Kyle McCord, man, when he gets to the NFL, is going to get fried because he's not mobile. And that's the problem with, when you get these guys that are either small, like Tua or Baker Mayfield when he was in Cleveland and got hurt all the time, they get hurt a lot. And I think that, when you don't have mobility and size, and if you can blend that like Will Howard does, then you've got a much better shot. But I think, the Josh Allen comparison is so perfect because, go look at his statistics coming out of, where he came out of, Dinky School, Wyoming, played the Iowa Hawkeyes and was like he was like 6 for 20 or something terrible. So people were like, well, he can't throw and he can't fit it in windows and he can't blah, blah, blah. And it's like, but then he comes to the NFL and like learns how to throw. And he's turned into the best quarterback in the NFL, in my opinion. I mean, it's him or Mahomes. I mean, he hasn't won any rings, but, he doesn't have the talent. He doesn't have Andy Reid either. So, I mean, he's, if you swapped him, I bet Josh Allen would probably win a lot of titles in Kansas City with Andy Reid as his play caller and Kelsey and, when he had Tyreek Hill and whatever. So, but I think that that's why you got to kind of look and project how much better can guys get. And I think Will Howard's got to get a lot better. And again, I think that some of the stuff that he's getting used to, like when I was watching that game live, when I was watching the Western Michigan game, was the fact that he's never had a guy like JJ before. So, like he's not used to a guy that can run that, who runs a 4.3, who's 6'4". And, with JJ, he's like Randy Moss. Like, I literally don't think you can outthrow him. I think if you take, you catch the ball, take a tick, and you chuck it, I think you can't outthrow him. So, I mean, he's got to realize, like, this isn't Kansas State anymore, where you've got, Jordy Nelson isn't walking through that door and hasn't walked through that door in a long time. So he's never had a guy that can run like that. So I think some of it is just still getting used to the game speed of a guy like JJ. And the Jelani one, it wasn't a great throw, but like Jelani can, it's like I said, I'm not trying to be hard on Jelani. Jelani can decide to go dominate at some point if he wants to. I mean, he's 6'7". You don't have to let a 5'9" safety cover you and knock the ball out of your hands. Like at some point you could say, I could go turn into JJ and go take the ball away from him, or, like again, great players can catch that ball, adjust to it, catch it. Again, that's why like it was amazing interviewing Chris Carter and talking about how particular he got and his timing and he knew how many steps it was to run in like an out pattern from this hash, like, how many steps it would take before he'd be out of bounds. That's how he learned how to toe tap. He was the guy that originated that. He'd catch it out of bounds and kind of fall over like London Bridge, and catch it, and he'd get the catch and 2 feet in, drag the feet, and but like Jelani can decide to come dominate at some point. I mean, dude, you're 6'7". I mean, he's there's some guys that can still turn up a little bit because again, there's some guys that are playing great. Like Jack Sawyer leads the nation in hits. I mean, I think he has like 8 quarterback hits or something crazy. He's literally first in the nation in that. Which again, that's not a sack, but that's like an inch away. That's like a millisecond away from a sack. So that means that you're getting close to getting sacks because you can't hit the quarterback 2 seconds after he gets rid of the ball and you get a penalty. But if you hit it right as he's throwing it, then that to me, it's not a sack, but I mean, those hits add up and those quarterbacks get a little skittish when you're back there knocking them down a few times. Nevada, we get some super chats. I want to break down a defensive play though, because Nevada had a great idea and correctly pointed out that we've done a lot of offensive plays, so we need to break down a little bit more defense. So break down a little bit of defense. We got a couple super chats, get those fired up. All right. So this is classic because we busted out the 3 linebackers, Nevada. So here you got your boy Sonny, you got Arvell, and you put Cody Simon at will. So you got your Will, you got your Mike, and you got your Sam down here. They go to the strength of the formation, so you put Sonny down here. And again, I like this rush. We don't get home here, but we affect the throw. This was a big thing with Jim Haycock when he was the D-line coach and coordinator at Ohio State, is affecting the quarterback. So again, we don't get home here, but like look at this pocket collapsing and you're caging him into this deal. He's got a small lane here, but can he really get through that? No, and there's no lane to Jack's side. So you look at this as he's trying to throw this. Again, this isn't a sack, but to me, this is a humongous effect on the pocket because he's kind of having to fade away off platform here. And again, this is he's literally throwing on one foot. He's got all of his weight on this foot. This foot's up in the air. And so he gets nothing on this ball. and he whizzes it out of bounds. And so this makes it, when you're this DB, it's a lot easier to play defense when they throw it 5 feet over his head because of the pressure around the D-line. So again, I know that we are a sack-driven society, and sacks are the only thing that matters. But to me, like, that's not a sack, but that's pretty good. Like, if a sack is an A+, then that's probably a B+ to me. The fact that you've got 3 guys, they get their hands up in the air, they see his offhand leave the ball to throw it, and they match the hand. So they have a chance to deflect it. They have a chance to maybe bat it up in the air. But this is what our guys are doing, And again, Tai Hamilton's absorbing the double team. He's got the center and the guard on him. So everyone else has a single rush. So he doesn't get as much push because he has literally 2 guys on him. But I think it's excellent. Nevada, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the defensive line and the way they've kind of controlled the line of scrimmage has really been, to me, the story of the defense, because I think the linebacker play up until now through 2 games has been, okay. It's ranged from okay to kind of not okay. And I'm not sure the defensive backs have really been challenged that much. So the game's really been about those guys in the front 4. And look, they're controlling the lanes on the pass. They're cage rushing when appropriate. They're speed rushing when appropriate. We're not having to blitz much. We haven't really blitzed all that much. We've shown pressure. Bought some simulated pressure. But the defensive front 4, and that goes beyond the starters. And as you pointed out on the last thing, we haven't really got much out of JT Tuimoloau. I mean, JT up to this point, he had that one sack with a guy kind of mixed coming over on I think it was like they were bringing a tight end over or something to block him, and he beat him around the end and got there. But we haven't really got that much out of him. But the rest of the guys have just been eating, and that's not just the starters. It's the starters. It's the backups. It's the backups to the backups. Getting great production for the defensive line, and that's such an encouraging sign because the offensive lines and defensive lines generally dictate games later in the season when you get down to crunch time, when you get down to bad weather, and there's nothing worse than being up against a team and you can't stop the run. I remember in 2021 when we played Michigan and we gave up like 9 yards a carry in the second half against them on the ground, and that type of stuff it doesn't go away from your brain. There's nothing more frustrating in the world than when your defensive line is getting dominated or your offensive line, like in the Missouri game, is getting dominated. So we've shored up both sides of that, and the defensive line is playing at a really, really high level right now, and that's certainly a great sign for this defense in 2024.
I think that who do you think is the MVP of the defense through 2 games?
I mean, if you had asked for an MVP, I'm going to go Jack Sawyer. I think Jack Sawyer has been the best player on the defense. Super impactful. He looks noticeably quicker, lighter, more flexible. He looks more bendy, more athletic. I thought he looked a little stiff the last couple of years, to be honest. And he doesn't look stiff anymore. He's getting in there making plays. And look, there's been a lot of great players on the defense, a lot of guys that come up with some big performances. But for my money, I'd go Jack Sawyer.
Yeah, I think that the 2 guys I'm picking for Jack was one of them. Tai Hamilton has been unbelievable. So I found a Tai Hamilton play. And again, a lot of the stuff Tai does, it's a dumb cliche that it doesn't show up in the box score. But let me I'll click this on for us real quick. But he's just such a dominator. When you watch Tai, he's right here playing nose. And again, nose is the hardest position on the field because you get double teamed basically every play. So, I mean, it's not hard from a mental standpoint, but physically it's the toughest position to play, in my opinion. So here, but again, they're running our little stretch play to the left here. And watch what Tai does to the center. Straight back, like he's on ice skates. I mean, this is a lot of force. And that's one step, and he pushes him back 2.5 yards. So this poor running back's trying to get through here, and the center is in his lap. So he has nowhere to go. Like he's like, oh my god, And JT does a good job. He sets the edge here. So this is good by JT. Again, I'm fair. Jack's back here setting the edge, but I mean, Ty's the guy that makes this play because when you give a penetration like this on a stretch play, it's over. It's a wrap. So he gets there, and then our linebackers. they work in, everyone's in their gaps. I mean, this is a complete, like, you're this running back and you're like, where am I supposed to go? I've got Hancock here. I've got Jack here. I've got him here. And I've got 2 linebackers here. And then you've got Tai. So, I mean, that's so good. And then you get your safety cut up. So, I mean, they still end up getting a yard because this is a good cutback and an aggressive run. But, I mean, this is, Tai doing this to the center, it's like the play is instantly dead. Because there's literally, I mean, he takes the center's body and puts him right in the lane that he's supposed to be running into. And again, this is excellent by JT at setting the edge. So he gets up here, edges it. This running back can't go out here now. So he's got to come up in here, and then you got Tai. So basically, these 2 guys made a wall with dead bodies that are former offensive linemen here. So that's as good as you can do it. And then you got to bend it back here, and you've got your waiting homies all back here ready to go. But God, Tai is good, man. I mean, he is a woolly mammoth of a nose guard, because when he gets his hands on these guys, man, they all go backwards. And again, lowly Ohio kid. He's not from Georgia. He didn't go to Peachtree Ridge, or he's not from South Florida or Texas. So he's a lowly Pickerington kid. And him and Jack, it's funny, 2 kids that are from, 25 minutes away from campus are the 2 best guys in the defense, in my opinion, so far. Now, I could be wrong. But that is so good, man. And it's, and again, like, that's something he does. And you don't get a statistic for pushing the center 3 yards into the backfield and stopping the entire play, but I notice it. So that's why I point that out, because again, everyone says it's all about sacks, but like, that destroyed a running play instantly because of what he did. So again, that's just me. And like, I love that kid. And like I said, our linebackers are coming, but I will say, and this was something that was great about like Tim Anderson. Like, I played with Tim Anderson in 03. He was obviously the nose guard back then. He makes guys like AJ Hawk look a lot better. Matt Wilhelm, all those guys that were linebackers behind guys like Tim Anderson. Like, your life as a linebacker is a billion times easier if you have a great nose guard, because you're going to be clean. His whole job is to keep you clean. It's like, the defensive line essentially blocks for the linebackers. I know people don't ever think about, but that was like something that, we used to talk about, is that was kind of their gig, was like to keep the guys free so that guys like AJ could flow. And again, I'm not saying AJ is one of the greatest players in the history of the school. So I'm not taking anything away from AJ. I mean, AJ would be the first guy to tell you, like, what's it like playing behind a great nose guard versus, a terrible nose guard that gets, shot into orbit by double teams. Because again, there's nothing worse than having a bad nose guard who can get double teamed back into your lap. I mean, you're not going to be efficient. You're not going to be productive as a linebacker. But yeah, Nevada, what are your thoughts on Tai Hamilton, Mix? I love, of all the guys I love watching on tape, he might be my favorite, because he just dominates. And like I said, his brother signed a $50 million extension with the Jaguars, and I think that Tai's better. But it might just be me. Maybe I'm crazy. But what are your thoughts?
No, look, he was kind of a forgotten man on the defensive line over the last couple of years, and a guy that really transformed his body. We've talked about that in some of these offseason nuggets about how hard a worker he was, and how good of a job he did in the weight room and in the film room. And it's just great to see it all get paid off. And his brother was kind of a late bloomer at Ohio State as well, and now he's going to be a centimillionaire football player in the NFL. So I don't see any reason why Tai couldn't follow a similar path. And I love these stories of these, because again, go back and look at when he committed, there was no parades, there was no adulation, there was no 50-page threads about Tai Hamilton committing, and he's a really, really good player. So you never know. Be excited about every commitment. But yeah, the play that we're getting from Cade McDonald and from Tai Hamilton and from Tyleek on the inside is really next level, and part of the reason why the defense has been so dominant.
Yeah, and they rotate Cade in there, and when they put him and Cade next to each other, like, nobody's really going anywhere. Which is, and Tyleek's a load. The thing about Tyleek is he's finally in shape, so he could run and he doesn't get tired, and his motor burns out. Because again, football, as much as it's about being tough, it's really about being in shape, because it's really hard to be tough and nasty when you're exhausted and sucking wind. And a lot of these guys, they really took their conditioning to the next level. They're in really good shape, and that's great. Like I said, I always talk about how you see these guys get to their senior years, and all of a sudden the diet gets tuned up. And again, I was the same way. I'm not like I didn't do it. I mean, everything gets tuned up when you know that there isn't another chapter in the book. This is the last chapter in the book, and you've got the pen in your hand, and you get to figure out, okay, is it worth going out? Is it worth not getting my sleep? Is it worth skipping a lift? Is it worth any of that? And again, I went out, but like I didn't skip lifting or any of that stuff. But it's like, you get your diet dialed in a little bit more. You get a little bit more sleep. When you're a senior, like usually your class load is a lot less because, if you're smart, you kind of dial it in. So your last semester, I was on quarters. You take fewer classes during the season because a lot of these guys, like you can take 12 hours and still be eligible to play, which is like 2 classes, left, or take all online classes or whatever. So again, that's just more time to rest and train and get recovery. And again, one thing that I'm not jealous of much at the Woody Hayes. It's awesome that they have all these free meals and all that stuff, but like the recovery stuff that they have now is unbelievable. Like the cryotherapy room, all the massage, the acupuncture, like that stuff, I would have eaten that stuff up because I was always about how can I feel better as the season goes on. I feel like Josh, I mean, all we used to have was cold tubs, which I used to love getting in the cold. I'd get in the cold tub after every single practice, every single day. I'd get in that thing and just sit there for 10 minutes or whatever. Like they'd always have them right outside after practice. And literally I'd just jump right in the thing. And it was money, but now they've got all kinds of new stuff. Starting to get some super chats about it. Any other thoughts? Then we can dig into some super chats.
No, just it's fun to watch this team, and it's going to be interesting to revisit this. In 2 or 3, 4 weeks, see if our MVPs are the same or moved on to different guys. But a lot to be excited about.
Yep, Buckeye One, thank you for the 5. Will the NCAA show other Division I schools the evidence they gathered and get their input about how to treat UM's national championship claim? I don't know, Nevada. I will let you go on this one first, and then I'll add my input.
Well, I mean, in theory, that's kind of what they do. When they have their committee on infractions and the other people, they're drawing from kind of the populace to try to do this and try to get kind of a representative sample, and so that they, it's not just a biased viewpoint on these particular things. But look, the thing that Michigan is terrified of right now is the notice of allegations going public, and they do not want that notice of allegations to go public, because when that happens, it is, first of all, that's going to provide about 100 days of salacious material for Kirk and I to go through here on the podcast, because it's gonna go through in great detail this scheme, and I would say probably the vast majority, 95% of the Michigan fans, really have no idea how deep this was, or what a stupid plan this whole thing was, and how illegal this whole thing was. I think they've kind of conjured up in their mind, much like the cheeseburger thing. Some of them still believe that first thing, that Jim Harbaugh got suspended for a year for buying somebody a cheeseburger, and that's not what it was. It was for lying to the NCAA, repeatedly lying to them, even when presented with evidence that you were lying. He tripled down on his lying. I never met those people. I never met them. I never had breakfast with them. I didn't order a cheeseburger. I wasn't there. I don't know that. I mean, that's literally what he went down with the ship on, and that's why he got suspended. So I think for Michigan fans, I think a lot of them still feel like this was about stealing signs, and everybody steals signs, and what's the big deal? And when this comes out in black and white, man, it's going to be bad. So I can't wait for it, because like I said, literally, we'll start at page 1 and we'll read a page a day for like the next 100 days, and it'll be a glorious time in podcastingville. But no, I think the NCAA's got a pretty good idea of what people's viewpoints are on this, and how severe this is. I think they went right to the heart of the matter about how Connor Stalions, about how he obtained the information, what he was doing the information, how it was disseminated, and how Michigan utilized it, and his proximity to coordinators in the game. They went right to that, so they get it, they understand it, and that's good.
Well, yeah, I think that when there's some sort of a major scandal like this, they're going to go through, hey guys, we're going to smash these guys, and this is what they did, and this is why, and we're going to show you, because again, like when you send out the video to review, or the compliance thing to review, or whatever, The coaches all have to watch it. They'll have to sit there and, okay, this is what they did. They'll show, because again, they'll make an entire presentation. This is what they did. They'll show the videotape of the guy with the hands sitting there for 4 hours with his little iPhone. They'll show what they found on the scouting, on the servers, all the impermissible stuff. They'll have like a very comprehensive thing. Like, don't do this. Again, like when someone gets nailed for something in the NFL or in the NFL, it acts so much quicker because like college football needs to be more like the NFL. Like they need to have a commissioner. Like they don't need the NCAA anymore. They need to have a college football commissioner over the major part. If it's just the group of five or if it's just the SEC and Big Ten, they need a commissioner that can do stuff to enact stuff. So when they catch something like this, then they can release it. Like with the NFL, when Spygate came out, they put out the video. They said this is impermissible. New England got smashed. Belichick got fined. They lost a first-round pick. Fined $1 million, whatever the number was. I can't remember. But they showed like what they did. They said, this is the video that we found. This is everything. New England, if you guys don't watch Bill Belichick, for as drab as he is, when he talks football, I listen because I think he's one of the 3 or 4 greatest football minds that's ever lived. And he talked about when the New England Patriots were playing the Colts, they had this thing basically where like Mike Vrabel, who was a linebacker for the Patriots at the time, would fake calling a timeout. Like they used 2 timeouts to ice Mike Vanderjagt, the kicker from the Colts. And then they did this play basically where Vrabel would kind of fake a timeout, but he was right in the view of the kicker. Like he lined him up right in the view of the kicker and he went like this and it froze Vanderjagt and he shanked the kick. And he was one of the best kickers in the league at the time. I think he was the most accurate kicker in the NFL. And again, that's just little mind games, but it was funny. They did that and New England won and advanced to the playoffs. And the next week, the NFL put in a rule that said you cannot fake a timeout or it'll be an unsportsmanlike penalty because nobody had ever done that before. So it's kind of like how nobody had ever been caught doing this this comprehensive cheating deal the way that these guys have done it. And now that it's caught, it's a wrap. It's over. So I think that's something that they need to have happen because they're going to show like this is what these guys did, and this is what you can't do because now you can't play dumb because again. Jim Harbaugh and Connor Sanders loves to play dumb. Oh, I sent my mom to tape it, and you can't tell me I can't send my mom to the games or give her tickets. There's no, they try to like fake. Well, there's no rule that says I can't give tickets to my mom, and like they have like these wing-ding excuses. But I think that's it's going to be sent to every school in 1A. This is what Michigan did. Here's their signals. Here's their signal sheet. Here's their video that we found on their hard drive, on their iCloud, on their Dropbox, like wherever they disseminated it, and you can't do it. So I think that it'll, you always have to make an example of schools that do something this audacious, but it's kind of where we are in society. Show of Steel Workshop, what's up, brother? Thanks for the 5. Just got in from the shop. Is there any teams from the Power 5 y'all think can give us a good game? And same question for the Independence group of 5 teams. Well, Texas for sure, Georgia for sure. I think Bama would give us a good game. I think Bama's good. I don't think they're as good as they've been. They're not like elite level Bama, but I still think Bama's very legit. The Independence group of 5, I don't think so. I mean, I think Notre Dame's a shell of what they used to be, and they kind of proved it last week. What are your thoughts, Nevada? And again, Shofa, I hope you're doing good, my man. I appreciate you. Thank you for the 5. Nevada, are there any teams outside of the ones I named? I mean, you throw Oregon in there, I guess. Maybe. I don't want to say Michigan, but Michigan, you still got to beat Michigan, no matter what. Even if they're 2-8, like you still got to go beat them, which I think will smash them. But it's still like we were terrible in 2004, and they were going to the Rose Bowl and almost beat Texas in the Rose Bowl, and we stunk, and we rose up and beat them. So you still got to win that game and get over the mental block, but. What are your thoughts about it? Are there any other teams that could give us a good game?
Well, I mean, look, I've been through enough seasons to know that anybody could give us a good game. But teams from a talent standpoint, that's why Michigan I don't include that because Michigan's just not very talented this year. And the games in Columbus, the 2 games that we've lost to them in 21 and 23 up in Ann Arbor is always, that's always something different. But they're not going to beat us in Columbus. But Ole Miss, I think Ole Miss is really
Yeah,
good, and I
good
and I
call.
and I know people don't like Kiffin or they think he's a joke or whatever it is. He's a heck of a college coach,
Fuck.
and in a one game thing, like if we saw them in the playoff or something like that, they're going to be a problem for some teams. So, not saying I don't want to play them, or not saying we can't beat them, or look, we can beat anybody, but a team like Ole Miss, super talented team. I was looking I was talking about betting on. You can still get Ohio State at minus 850 to make the college football playoff. Minus 850 to make the college football playoff. That means you're getting paid like 12.5% in 90 days, which is like a 50% return annualized for Ohio State to make the college football playoff. And the only other team that's got that short odds with them is Georgia. And I was looking at Georgia's schedule. Georgia still plays to miss the playoffs. I figure you got to lose 3 times, maybe 4, but certainly 3 times puts you in jeopardy. And Georgia plays at Alabama, at Texas, at Ole Miss, and then plays at home against Tennessee. So that's 4 of the top 7 teams in the country right there, 3 of them on the road. So could Georgia miss the playoffs? Not impossible, not with that schedule. Could Ohio State miss the playoffs? I mean, we'd have to lose at Oregon. We'd have to lose at Penn State. And then we'd have to find a way to lose to somebody else. It's just really hard to come up with a rational belief that that's really going to happen. But Georgia, man, I'm telling you, they got a tough schedule, and some of those SEC teams, playing at Ole Miss, man, I wouldn't want to play that game. That's going to be a heck of a game.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's like one where you want to go take a loan out and as much money as you can possibly get to put on that. 'Cause that's, I mean, 850 when even if like some crazy injury happened, we're so deep that it really wouldn't matter. But yeah, that is crazy good money right there. Rob McKisson, thanks for the 10. Appreciate you. Great to see you today. Thanks for breaking bread with the wife and I for a bit. 9 years yesterday. Well, congrats. I saw Rob at Twin Peaks today. He got to meet Kim and the baby and his wonderful wife. They were on the Scoop. They loved the Scoop. It was really cool. Actually, the owner of Twin Peaks was there, John. So shout out to my boy John. He met Rob today, and Rob's like, "Is there anything I can do to help?" I was like, "Come here all the time," because like we like our deal with Twin Peaks and with Buffalo Wild Wings. So support our sponsors because they support us. And dude, it was awesome meeting you today. Again, I was just sitting there, working like I'm always working, getting stuff ready for tonight's show on my iPad. And so, if I'm ever hunched over, like it was funny because he literally, Nevada, what he called me? The big cuddly bear because of you. He was like, I was like, oh my God. I was like, Nevada. I was like, Jesus Christ. Of all the things that I am not, a big cuddly bear is one of those. But it was awesome meeting you, dude. Again, I was glad you came over and said hello and talked for a little bit, and it was awesome. But Nevada, any thoughts on that? The Scoop family, man. I'm telling you, it's so cool because I'll go to like Costco or Best Buy, or I only go to like 3 or 4 different places in my life, and it's like people are like, I love the show, I watch every night, and I was like, that really is cool. Like it is, it's humbling, and I was like, well, that's why we put off our lives and we eat dinner later because we got to get our show in. So, but it's fun. Like I love doing it. Your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Yeah, well, I think it's one of the great things about you living in Columbus, and you get the chance to do. I mean, me living out of state, you don't get it as much. I mean, I still get it occasionally. I'll get somebody who'll say just like I'll get the OH or something like that. But you are very recognizable. You are kind of the face of the podcast. And so when you see Kirk, definitely go up and say, "Well, he loves meeting people," and you're never bothering the big cuddly bear because he's big and cuddly. But just don't put your hands near his food when he's eating or
Oh my
something
God.
like that. It might get taken off there, man. Yeah, he's a big, angry, hungry bear.
You'll get rabies. You have to get a shot. Rob, again, thanks for the 20. Appreciate you, my man. Appreciate you both and all your coverage. Keep bringing the heat. Scoop got it first. So this was great. So one of the girls that works there, Kelsey, she comes over and she says, hey, they want to buy you a beer, and they also wanted me to say Scoop had it first. She's like, what does that mean? I was like, oh God, that's like my favorite thing in the world to say because it annoys the crap out of all of our competition when we beat them and break all these stories and we say Scoop had it first. Oh, it's the best. And she's like, really? You say that all the time? I was like, oh yeah, I say it all the time. We're going to put it on a t-shirt. And every time people see it, they're going to roll their eyes and say, oh, I hate that Kirk and that Nevadabuck guy because they did have it first and they did beat us again. So they work on Friday nights when they don't. But your thoughts on that, Nevada? Again, Rob, I appreciate you both. Says, appreciate you both and all your coverage. Keep bringing the heat. And he said, Scoop had it first. And again, we're going to do a clothing drop next week. I got to confirm today. I am going to put a Scoop Had It First shirt in the clothing drop because everybody wants it. We did the massive shirt. So we do like a little kind of signature little slogan shirt. So we're going to do a Scoop Had It First shirt. So in the chat, type a Y if you want that shirt, a Y for yes, because I want to kind of see if it'd be popular because I think people are going to love that. Because again, it's so charming that we always say that and it drives people crazy that don't like us. And that there's nothing in the world that makes me happier. What are your thoughts, Nevada? Nevada had it first.
Yeah, that's it's super trolly, guys, and you got to understand. There's nothing that Kirk and I enjoy more than trolling these other sites and other things.
God.
So Scoop Had It First just annoys them to no end. So we love saying it. So yeah, put down Nevada for a Y on the chat because I'll definitely buy one of those shirts and that one. I'll wear it proudly wherever I am.
And the funny thing is, like, we just don't take ourselves too seriously. You know, we aren't like the sophisticated journalist types, but we are pretty funny and we're entertaining. That's what matters. Yeah, and we have really good sources, which matters even more than that. So, all right, Nevada, it's a Friday. We can get out of here. What would you like to say to wrap the show?
No, just look. It was a good week for Ohio State. Ohio State, nice solid week. Avoided injury. Only one minor car accident, and hopefully everybody gets back home and without any problems. But yeah, good. I think Ryan Day's pushing all the right buttons. Let's get through this bye week and we can get on to preparing for Marshalls. I'm excited. I'm ready for this bye week to be over, man. I hate bye weeks, but and also I'm as crazy as it sounds. I'm betting against Michigan again tomorrow. I just don't think they're very good. I'll take the 23 in Arkansas State or whatever it is because I do not think Michigan's very good, and I'm going to take the points. So I'm
what is it?
calling
What's
that
it?
right now.
22?
22, 23, something like that. But I'm definitely betting against Michigan because Michigan sucks. So I'm just telling you. So
And you going Marab over Sugar Sean?
I got to bet Marab. We got a couple of goes to decision props on Shevchenko fight and on the Rubovic Zahuber fight. And I think you're getting Marab at plus money in a 5-round fight. I think you have to. That may be the only time in your whole life that ever happens. So I think you got to take it. It's going to be a great fight, but I think you got to take Marab plus money in a 5-round fight.
I love it. Is Zogson probably going to put picks out tomorrow?
Every time. He's got two picks going tomorrow night.
Oh, we got one more super chat. Rivia Tube. Should we worry about Howard's noodle arm on long passes, or is that correctable in season? I think it's very correctable, and I think that I don't think he has a noodle arm. I think as much as he just missed a couple throws. You know, sometimes like I said, I just don't think he realized how fast JJ is, and he's thrown with him a lot, but JJ is a guy you can't overthrow. So he had that one where he kind of punted it to him that was high and wasn't great, and like that one and the Jelani ones were the bad ones to me. And then he had the one where it like slipped out of his hand, which again, that happens. That happens to everybody. But, I think it's very correctable. I think his accuracy has gotten much better from where it was at Kansas State last year. So, like I said, I think that those are things that'll drive him to prove his mechanics. And again, just continuing to develop the chemistry in the field with the receivers. Because again, he hasn't had these guys for very long. I mean, he had spring ball and summer. So it's not like he's been with these guys for years. And especially JJ, like you can't out throw JJ. I mean, he can throw it anywhere and he can go get it. So that's something I think he just has to put some oomph behind the ball and just chuck it as opposed to hanging it up there. Nevada, do you worry about Howard's noodle arm on long passes, or is it correctable in the season?
Yeah, he doesn't. He's got a good arm. He's got a. I mean, I say he has an above average arm. So he doesn't have a cannon, but he can throw the ball, and he's thrown it in practice. He's really really good on the deep balls. I think he's been working on some of his touch passes. I thought the pass to Jelani near the end zone needed to have a little bit more zip. He kind of lofted that one a little bit. But I think he's just working on some stuff. But no, he's got plenty of arm strength. He's a big guy, 6'5", 230 pounds, whatever it is. Big guy can get the ball. He can get the ball out there, and I think that's absolutely correctable.
like I said, go look up Josh Allen's stats when he was at wherever he was at where was it, Idaho or
Wyoming.
Montana or Wyoming. He was at one of those. So anyways, he was there, and it was his accuracy was terrible. That's why he didn't go first in the draft. His accuracy was like 50%. And people are like, oh well, he can't throw and he's not accurate. And I was like, well, he also has receivers that aren't NFL receivers. He doesn't have Big Ten receivers when you're playing at that level. And so, he had to force things. And honestly, I feel like Will Howard is struggling with that because, Kansas State isn't exactly some, wide receiver, catapult into the NFL. Like, and they've had Jordy Nelson and I don't know how many other receivers they've had, maybe Quincy Morgan. I mean, I can't remember how many guys that they've put into the league. It's not a lot. But you guys are Ohio State, man, and you're dealing with the best of the best guys that can separate, guys that can run. And I think there's some adjustment there, and I think that he's getting used to it. And again, I love his decision making. I love his athleticism. If he misses a couple balls, well, so do all the guys in the NFL. And that's not making an excuse, but that's just part of quarterbacking. Like sometimes you're not going to throw it exactly how you want it. And obviously, I think that part of our problem is that we had Dwayne Haskins and CJ Stroud, who are probably the two most accurate passers in school history over the last, 6-7 years. So when you have guys that are that accurate, it kind of kills you. And it spoils you to a degree that you're not used to being spoiled. Because, I grew up in, with some of the guys that I played with and watched growing up, they weren't very accurate as throwers. So, all of a sudden you get CJ and Dwayne in here, the best throwers in school history. And that's the standard, which is great, but not everybody's going to be as accurate as CJ Stroud, who's, going to make $75 million a year when he re-ups in the NFL. So, all right, Nevada, redo anything final and we get out of here.
No, just great week. Can't wait. UFC 306 tomorrow night, and let's all root against Michigan on Saturday. That'll be fun.
And bet a lot on Alabama versus Wisconsin because that's going to be a bloodbath.
I'm laying that too. Yeah, I'm there too. Totally agree.
God bless Luke, but that is going to be a bloodbath. All right, let's get us out of here, folks, so you guys can go enjoy your Friday night. Again, I appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much for being a part of the show. Again, it's awesome. Appreciate you, Rob. Great meeting you. Bring your wife by next by. She can come over and see Kimbo. Happy anniversary to you too. It was awesome seeing you guys. So if you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also click that little alert bell. Again, love you guys so much. Appreciate all the growth on this channel. It's a special community. It's an elite community. It's never, ever been better. And again, I just appreciate all that you guys do. Again, shout out where you guys are watching from. Shout out who you guys are watching with. Shout out what kind of merchandise, what kind of brands do you want? Put that in the chat. Put that in the comments. We're going to do Nike again. We'll do some Carhartt stuff. The Carhartt hoodie is so excellent. So, pick up one of those. And when it gets to be a little cooler in the fall, you'll thank me because it is very high quality. It's my favorite hoodie I've ever owned it from a quality standpoint. And I've had Under Armour, Nike. I've had all kinds of brands of hoodies. I'm always looking for the best stuff for you guys. And the Carhartt one, I think, is the best quality and texture and heaviness. It's really just a nice hoodie. So pick one of those up when we do that in the store. So again, if you guys enjoy this, please leave us a like, click subscribe, click that little alert bell, and also follow us on Apple Podcasts. That is huge for us. We're trying to grow our audio format a little bit more. It's been lagging behind our videos, so you could do us a big favor and follow us on those. That'd be great. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Enjoy your Friday night. There's going to be some football on. You guys can just chill, get ready for a big college football Saturday tomorrow. We will go probably at 7 tomorrow. I'm going to talk to Nevada, but I'll try to put the show up early. I tried to put it up a couple hours early tonight. It was a little bit later. We had some stuff going on, but give you guys a little bit of a time. So I appreciate you guys. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night, and go Bucks.